The paintwork, like on other cars of this brand, is quite soft. Because of this, most of the copies presented on the secondary market are not in the best condition. There are a large number of scratches and chips. Unlike painting, body iron definitely does not belong to weak points, since its anti-corrosion protection is at a high level, due to which corrosion centers are very rare for this car. An exception may be copies restored after an accident. But the elements of the exhaust system and the spare wheel niche do not have proper protection and over time can begin to rust. One of the most problematic parts of the body are the plastic moldings installed on the roof of the car. When heated in the sun, they warp and fly off the seats. The problem is that putting a warped part in place is almost impossible. Also, wipers can be attributed to a number of unreliable ones. After a couple of winters, leashes turn sour. Some Mitsubishi Colt owners complain about the short life of the bulbs in the front optics. It would seem that the problem is not significant, but due to the difficult access to them, certain skills and strong nerves will be required to eliminate the disease. Convertibles are not famous for their reliability of electronic fault in the roof. Therefore, before buying, be sure to check its performance. There should be no extraneous sound during the operation of the mechanism. 3 atmospheric gasoline engines are available for Mitsubishi Colt 6 buyers: 1.1 75 horsepower, 1.3 95 horsepower, 1.5 109 horsepower, and 1 turbocharged 1.5 MIVEC 150-197 horsepower. In some markets, you can also find Colt with a 1.5 DID 3-cylinder diesel engine, 6895 horsepower. Japanese-made power units have always been famous for their high level of reliability, but like everything in the world, they are not perfect and have certain drawbacks. So, for example, a liter engine has increased noise and appetite. It consumes fuel no less than a 1.3-liter engine, but at the same time its driving characteristics are much worse. The problem areas of the unit include an unreliable throttle and frequent failures in the software of the engine control unit. A car with a 1.3 engine is the most common on our market. Such popularity of the unit is due to the high level of reliability and good dynamic performance with moderate fuel consumption. Among the shortcomings, a small resource of the electric fan of the cooling system, throttle valve and ignition coils can be noted. Often they fail on a run of 70-90,000 kilometers. Also, unforeseen expenses may be required to restore the fuel system. The fact is that when using low-quality gasoline, the fuel filter quickly clogs. The problem is that it changed in assembly with the gasoline pump, the cost of which can be unpleasantly surprising. For the original, they ask from $300 USD. Of the minor troubles, increased vibration can be noted. The problem may be caused by severe wear on the engine mount. If they are in order, try to increase the idle speed slightly. The alternator belt is prone to stretching and needs to be tightened periodically. A characteristic whistle will tell you about the need for this procedure. It can also be noted that it is difficult to start the engine in the cold season. Feel the candles. The reason is that the motor is not designed for operation in severe sub-zero temperatures. Closer to 200,000 kilometers, oil consumption begins to increase, which will grow in proportion to the mileage. Oil scrapper rings need to be replaced and overhauled. The 1.5-liter engine is a bored version of the 1.3 engine. As a result, their problem areas are identical. There are no hydraulic lifters on both engines, therefore it is recommended to adjust the valves every 90,000 kilometers. The turbocharged engine is able to make a real lighter out of this little car. But only Sedan Sport modifications on the CZT were equipped with such a motor. Buying a car with such a unit is a risky business, since they are often operated in the sleeper-to-the-floor mode, which significantly reduces the engine resource. The fact is that cars with such a power unit were not officially delivered to us, and those that are sold on the market were imported from Europe. As a rule, such cars have high mileage and are not in the best technical condition. And this means that during operation the motor may require expensive repairs. It is also worth noting the capricious fuel equipment, which does not last long on our fuel. The Mitsubishi Colt 6 was equipped with 2 types of gearboxes, a 5-speed manual and an all-shift robotic transmission with manual shifting. The mechanics are generally reliable and rarely bother their owners. The weak point of the mechanics is considered to be its rust. The first signal of an upcoming repair will be the appearance of difficulties with gear shifting. But the robotic is able to deliver a lot of trouble. The biggest problem with the robotic transmission is brooding and jerky when shifting gears. Often, owners encounter difficulties during reverse gear engagement. It does not turn on the first time. Also, reverse gear can be knocked out on the go, but unlike previous ailment, you can try to fix this by reflashing the transmission control unit. If flashing does not give a positive effect, then it's time to change the actuator, the mechanism for engaging the clutch and gears. The rod wears out. It is worth noting that the replacement of this unit is unreasonably high, about 1000 USD, especially if you take into account the cost of a used car. If the transmission knocks out while moving forward, first check the condition of the right front ABS sensor. If it malfunctions, incorrect information is sent to the L-shift ECU. Another disadvantage of the robot is the need for periodic adjustment of the transmission, actuator learning. If this is not done closer to 100,000 kilometers, the clutch will need to be replaced. The first signals that the clutch is not in the best condition will be uncomfortable shifting and the lack of the start of independent movement when the brake pedal is released. Also, the shortcomings include a small resource of axle shaft seals, but in fairness it should be noted that owners of cars with a manual transmission also face this nuisance. Comfort quite tough, especially for cars equipped with the low-profile tires 195/50 R15. Another disadvantage of using such rubber is the high probability of damage to the rims when driving on a broken roads. Owners of cars manufactured before 2008 often complained about very noisy suspension work. Most often, in the suspension you have to change the struts and bushing on the anti-roll bar every 40–70,000 kilometers. Support bearings and rear shock absorbers are also considered problematic. They are afraid of overloads. The remaining suspension elements with careful operation can last 120–150,000 kilometers and silent blocks up to 200,000 kilometers. Restoring the suspension using original spare parts is not cheap. The wheel bearing is assembled with the hub and the steering knuckle, and the ball bearings with the lever. Therefore, many people use cheaper gray spare parts, the life of which is difficult to predict. The steering system does not cause many problems either. For example, the tips run about 150,000 kilometers, the rods can last up to 250,000 kilometers. A significant drawback of the steering is the design feature of the rack. The tie rods are non-replaceable, therefore, in case of their failure, you will have to change the rack assembly. But the braking system, unlike many elements of the running gear, cannot boast of a large resource of some elements. Serial brake discs are considered problematic. They wear out quickly, and when overheated, ABS sensors are deformed, often fail. Despite the compact dimensions of the body, the Mitsubishi Colt VI interior impresses with its spaciousness and spaciousness. As for the quality of finishing materials, they are quite budgetary, but thanks to high-quality assembly, crickets in the cabin do not bother much while driving. Among the shortcomings, a weak glove compartment locking mechanism can be noted. If there are already problems with it, you will soon have to change the glove compartment cover. It is also advisable to check the condition of the rear seat latches. If the former owner often removed the seats, the latches will be badly broken. The latches for fastening the button and the end of the handbrake are not famous for reliability either. They break and stop holding the lever in the raised position. Despite the fact that the car does not have a large amount of electrical equipment, failures in electronics are a common phenomenon. Weaknesses include power windows, they stop working, and the stove fan, it works noisily. Sometimes greasing VD14 bearings helps to fix the problem. It is also worth noting possible malfunctions in the display of the onboard computer. It stops showing information, it can turn on/off spontaneously. To eliminate the disease, you will need to install LEDs instead of light bulbs or solder the BC processors. If an SRS error appears on the dashboard, most likely the reason is the freight tracks of the cable on the steering wheel, which is located behind the airbag. Treatment: soldering the track is required. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problem that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.